Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you are joining me. And today I'm going to show you how to make two different beads, but using the same template. So these are the beads. You can see one of them is a bicone bead and the other one is a flat bead. So two different shapes but with the same template. So this template is available for you to purchase. It is in my Etsy shop and I'll leave the link below, but you are more than welcome to copy this template and to draw your own one, but it is available for you to purchase. So what you'll notice about this template is that the first part of it is straight and then the second part is tapered. And this template is in two parts. So you have the black and white section and then you have the coloured section. So I'm going to cut this template out now. And it's one of those questions I get asked lots, and I did cover it in my last tutorial, is how to cut your templates out. So for this one, what you need to make sure you're doing is when you get to this section, it needs to be a straight section. So again, on this side, it's straight. And then you can begin to taper down. Now, what you want to be doing is you want to be cutting just inside the black line, because as much as possible you want to try and avoid having any of the white from the white strips. Now today I've got a bit of a bonus for you, so if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I've got an extra bead to show you, which is really exciting and I think you're going to like it. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video for that little extra bonus bead. So as you can see here, I'm just cutting on the inside of that grey line on the template. So it's up to you. You can either cut on the grey line or inside the grey line. But you're just going to cut your template up as you would. And then once we've got our two pieces, we can then begin to make our beads. Now I've printed these on a standard, just a normal inkjet printer, nothing fancy, nothing laser. I haven't had them printed anywhere. Just a normal printer. So I'm just going to get rid of all the extra bits that I don't need. And what you'll see is that this template, one end joins on to the other end. Like so. Okay, so let's make a start on bead 1. So when I made these beads, I decided I just went ahead and I made them, and I didn't really think too much about them. But I actually just looked at them and I actually decided that I kind of wished I'd made the inside of the bead a bit more colourful so it wasn't such a stark contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about that beforehand, and I'm going to use this purple metallic pen. I do like these metallic pens, and I'm just going to colour in the end. You don't need to colour in much, but it's the flip side of the template that I'm colouring in. And then you just want to let that dry a little bit. If you do make your beads and you do forget to colour them in on the inside, it's not such a major problem, because what you can do is you can just take your pen and you can just poke it in and give it a little twist, and that will just colour it for you. So all is not lost if you didn't do it. You can just go through and add it on afterwards. But what we're going to do is we're going to add it on first. So just showing you two different ways of adding colour. Now I'm going to use my trusty paper bead roller, and I'm going to use my 2.5mm. And again, my bead is actually longer than my roller, because I wanted to show you how easy it is to just roll any beads. It doesn't matter that your paper is longer than your bead roller. you can just roll. Now remember, this first section up to that black line, you're making a tube bead. And then from that point, we're now starting to taper in. So you'll see that the edges are starting to come inwards. So the first part of the bead is a tube bead. The second part of the bead is a bicone bead. So that first part just helps to create some stability to the bead. And now we're going to bring it in and create that bicone effect. If you're not happy with it at any point, just release the pressure a little bit and just move the paper to where you want it to be. So now we're at the end. I'm going to apply some glue. And you don't need much. Copier paper sticks really well. So just apply it around and then just carry on rolling. And I use a kind of even pressure on my fingers to make sure that that paper sticks down nice and flat. And I'll even use the palm of my hand just to create a consistent surface in which that bead is going to be rolled. So there we go. There is the first part of our bead. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the second part of our bead and apply some glue. And for the second part, I'm actually going to apply a little bit more than I normally would. And I'm actually going to apply it to a little bit further along than I would. And I'm just using an old envelope here, something that would otherwise go in the recycling bin. So always use just scrap bits that you have around. It's a good way of reusing them. So I'm just going to apply this part of the bead to where the other one finished. And I'm just using my finger just to try and get it to adhere quite quickly. It doesn't always want to adhere that quite quickly. It will depend on what the temperature's like in your house, what the season is. And you can see it's still sliding a little bit, but I'm not worried about that. And just keep rolling. Now, again, this part of the template is like a bicone bead in that it tapers in from the edge. So when you're rolling it, you want to make sure that you are coming in evenly on each side so that you're ending up in the middle. And again, if you're not quite happy with the placement of it, just wiggle it a little bit. And we're coming up to the end now. So I'm just going to apply some more glue to that end bit. And sometimes when it comes to bicone beads, I often apply just a little bit more glue than is required, because then what I do is I take that glue around the edges. Whenever we cut paper, as much as we try to cut it and do a smooth job, quite often paper will have tiny little bits that stand up. So just rolling the glue round helps to smooth all of those hairs, all of those little fibres back down again. And there we go. There is your first bead. So that is one that's quite familiar to you, I'm sure, one that's quite simple. But what I want to show you next is how to make the second bead. And I think this bead is really exciting because if you don't have a paper bead roller, you absolutely will have one of these to make your bead with. So we're going to be making this flat style paper bead today. And you're going to need a lolly stick. And yep, I'm using a used lolly stick. It was a lovely lolly. But I'm going to reuse that. I'm not going to buy loads of new stuff, using what we have. And again, when I made it, I didn't colour the ends, so I'm making sure that I have done it in advance. And all you do is very similar to if you are rolling your paper bead with a roller, is you're just going to roll your bead around the lolly stick. And remember, that first part of the bead it's straight. Once we get into this section, we're tapering in. So you're just going to roll your lolly stick. And remember, when you're making these beads, there's never any rush. Just take your time. And just gluing the ends down. And again, using my palm to stick those ends down. And we'll come to the second part. Now, on the template, there are 2 pages to the template because you get the end part of the bead in 2 different colourways. So you can make the purple and yellow beads, which you can see now, or you can make the kind of turquoisey pinky ones that you can see in the little bicone bead above. So again, for this one, we're just rolling it around. And again, it's just tapering in, so each side comes in at an equal distance. And just take your time. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the calmness and the repetitiveness of making the beads. And when you're done, just add a bit of glue, swipe it around the edges, just flatten all your little fibres down, and there you go. There's your second easy bead. 2 very different looks, but from the same template. And then you can just go ahead and glaze these however you want. I actually am a painter of glazes, so I'm not sure how you could dip them, but there you go. There's your 2 beads. And I've just slowed it down just for a second, just because I wanted to show you how you can see the 2 difference between the beads. So here we go. Thank you for staying to the end. So here's your bonus bead. So when you have your template and when you cut out your beads, you're going to be left with lots of these strips. Now don't bin them because they have black up the edges and you can make beads like this one. So what I have done with this one is I've added a bit of purple pen to the end of this strip. Now when you cut your template, you are cutting just inside the black, which means that on these strips you have some of that black left. So we're just going to roll these in the way that we would roll a normal bicone bead. And you'll see that some sides have got more black on, some sides have only got a bit of black on. But I think that all adds to the uniqueness of these little beads. I just think they're such a fun way, and it's such a shame if you just bin them, because they just make such fun little beads that you can use for all sorts of things. So you could colour these however you want. You could leave them as black and white. You could just add colour on bits. But there you go. How you can make some extra little beads just with the scraps left from your template. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.